Hi everyone, I'm Sugandha and you're watching Ready with HR and I hope so you all are well and yes, you all are waiting for this session third. Yes, this is module 3 and session third. This is design and planning in training and development. Okay, so let's have a quick recap because yes, it's been a lot of days. So let's have a quick recap. So we have done till now, we have done two modules, module 1 and module 2. Module 1, there were two sessions where we have discussed about the HRM, Human Resource Management, Introduction to HRM, Purpose of HRM, Basic Elements of HRM. After that, from module 2, we have started discussing all the basic elements starting from recruitment and selection to strategic HR in detail. So module 2 was on recruitment and selection and there we have discussed everything about recruitment process. Okay, so you can check these sessions from the pin comment. Please, this is my request. Please do check these sessions from the pin comment. You can check thumbnail. If you don't want to watch them, you can skip. But please watch thumbnail so that you are aware that what kind of sessions are uploaded in this HR course. Okay, now we have started module 3 and in module 3, first session was training and development, introduction to training and development, and after that we are discussing basic elements of training and development. So in session 2, we have discussed first basic element and that was needs assessment. Now today session 3, this is design and planning, like how we will design and plan this training and development. We have already analyzed need, what are the needs of training and development for each role and what kind of training we are looking for. Now we have to do designing and planning. So let's get started with it. Make sure to subscribe this channel if you're watching me for the very first time and do hit that cute notification bell icon so that you could get my updates later on as well. And please do check 15 days HR workshop, 10 days recruiter workshop. Please check these sessions and yes, 12 days payroll workshop from the pinned comment. You can check these sessions anytime. These are really brief sessions where you can get to know about HR in 15 days, about recruitment in 10 days, and about payroll in 12 days. Okay, so you can check this. So let's get started with this design and planning, and let's discuss about design and planning first of all, and then we will move to setting training objectives. So once we have done needs assessment, and this is completed actually, and we have identified the skill gaps, the next step for HR professionals, the next step for the people, for the persons who are working in this training and development is designing and planning the appropriate training development programs. This is important. This phase is critical, as I said, important. This phase is critical because definitely it ensures that identified needs are addressed systematically and that the training programs align with organizational goals. Means you don't have to give training just to give training. Okay, yes, we have a culture of providing training, so we are doing it. No, you have to understand that this needs assessment was important and as per that only we have to design this training and development. Okay, so this is important and this is so we need to consider needs assessment. We need to address these needs systematically. Okay, so here's a detailed explanation of each component involved in the design and planning process. So first and foremost is setting training objectives. And what is the objective of this? The first step in the design phase is to clearly define the objectives of the training program. These objectives outline what the organization hopes to achieve and how the training will benefit employees. Okay, that means we must define the objectives first. What are the objectives of this training program? And then only we have to design this. And definitely these objectives outline what the organization hopes to achieve and how the training will benefit the employees. This is important. You must understand this fact that whatever training you are providing should benefit the employees. So let's understand this with an example. So if the needs assessment identified a lack of proficiency in a specific software tool among employees, what we have observed, lack of proficiency in a specific software tool among employees. So what could be the objective? You can guess yourself. By the end of the training, 90% of participants will be able to proficiently use the new software tool to complete their daily task. This should be the objective. Now you might be thinking why I'm talking about 90%, why not 100%? Now this 10% we have taken for granted. We have taken, okay, some people will be there who are not interested, who are not willing to participate, or even if they participated, they are not that much interested. Okay, so that we have taken 10%. You can take any percentage considering your employees, your personals. It could be 15, it could be 5%. Okay, so this is just an estimation, or you can say, okay, 100% would be doing. But see, it's not possible that everybody is trained after the training. There will be areas for improvement. So quickly we can understand that training objectives should be SMART. And now what is a SMART? Yes, is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. Clearly define what will be achieved. Okay. Measurable, ensure the outcomes can be measured. Achievable, the objectives must be realistic for the employees. Relevant, objectives should align with both employee roles and organizational goals. And time bound, we have to set a time frame within which the objectives should be achieved. We all know this, okay? And so this is a SMART actually: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Now, why it's important? It's important, but why it's important? Clear objectives always provide direction for the training program and set expectations for both trainers and participants. You know, whenever we set objectives, whenever we have clear objectives, it gives direction. Oh, my focus is this, my goal is this, I have to achieve this, I have to learn this software. What all modules are there? Yes, all these modules I have to learn. Like in a software, there are 10 modules. We have set an objective that, okay, not 10 modules, but yes, you have to learn 6 modules. Okay, this 6 modules you have to learn. So what direction I got this direction as a participant and as a trainer, that I have to train at least these 6 modules. Yes, I would be giving training for all the 10 modules, but yes, these specific 6 modules we have to master, and same is the case with the participants. They are also clear. Okay, so this is the importance. Now next is choosing appropriate training methods. This is also very important. We have various methods and we have discussed these methods several times in other kind of sessions, but here we need to understand that once objectives are set, HR professionals need to choose the most effective training method, and the choice depends on the type of skills or knowledge being taught, the number of participants, and the available resources. Now this you have to see. If you have lot of people, if you have a big group, then yes, classroom training won't be effective. Okay, there will be different kind of methods. Yes, okay, let's study those methods. Let's start with those methods, then we can understand better. So on the job training, now see, employees learn by doing. They're doing practically. Under whom supervision? Under the supervision of a skilled mentor or manager. And this is often for practical or hands-on skills. Okay, let's take an example. So a manufacturing company might train new employees on how to operate a specific machinery through on-the-job training. Yes, they can train. Okay, this way these workers are doing, you have to do this. This will be a practical. We all know that, yes, we used to have in our degree also, in school time also, practicals. Whatever we study in theory, we have practicals. So that is actually on the job training. Next is classroom based training. Now we all know that this is a traditional method, and this involves yes, classroom lectures, presentations, or discussions led by an instructor. So it's suitable for topics that require theoretical knowledge like compliance or safety protocols. As I am doing a lot of workshops, these are theoretical, because see, your basics are not clear. Whenever you join any organization, you always say, ma'am, how to do this, how to do this. Why? Because you don't know the concept. What are the concepts related to human resource? What are the terms? Why we are doing this? Okay, so you need theoretical knowledge before applying it practically. Let's take an example, like we have a finance company. They might use classroom training to teach employees about new financial regulations. Like we discuss about budget, we discuss about how to calculate tax as per new budget. Next is e-learning. Digital training platforms which can be accessed online as you are learning from this mode are often used for scalable or remote learning. Like you are learning from this platform. This is obviously digital. So these are especially effective for large organizations or geographically dispersed teams. And this is effective. Why? See, sitting at one place, I am able to connect with people all over the country from different states, from different parts of states, and yes, to some extent, outside country also. Okay, so this is definitely a very effective method. Okay, let's take an example. A global company could implement an e-learning course on soft skills accessible to employees across different regions. Okay, next is workshops and seminars, and we all know these are really effective. These are interactive training sessions that involve definitely group activities, discussions, and practical exercises. Okay, let's have an example. We have a marketing team, and they could attend a workshop on creative thinking and campaign strategies. This could be effective for the organization and the team members also. Next is role playing or simulations. Now, this is very interesting because we are talking about role playing. You can say acting or you can say learning while acting or while role playing. So, yes, the participants act out scenarios they may face in their job and allowing them to practice the skills in a risk free environment. There isn't any risk. Why? Because we are role playing. We are just knowing how to do this job by role playing. Okay, let's have an example. We have a sales team. So they might engage in role playing exercises to practice handling objections from potential clients. This could be, as we have discussed in demo interviews. This is completely that whatever questions or queries will arise from the clients, we would be discussing that with our team. Okay, so one would be answering, one would be responding, one would be questioning. This way we can solve a lot of FAQs, frequently asked questions. Next is mentoring and coaching. Now these methods involve pairing employees. We are talking about mentoring and coaching, pairing employees with experienced mentors or coaches who provide guidance and feedback over time. Okay, so yes, obviously mentoring and coaching is the all-time best option. And okay, let's have an example. Like a company might assign senior executives to mentor high potential employees for leadership development. What we do, like in succession planning, what we do, we provide leadership guidance to the executives to whom we are thinking to promote in future. Okay, for higher roles. Next, why it's important. So yes, choosing the right training method is crucial for ensuring the material is effectively communicated and that employees can apply what they learn. So we have to understand that right method is important. What kind of method you are using, you need to consider a lot of things while using the method, and this will be beneficial, this will be helpful later on if the employees will be trained properly. Then yes, they would be using it effectively on daily basis in the organization. Next, developing the curriculum or training content. This is also important because we are talking about basically creating the content for training. Okay, we have chosen the method. Now what we are doing, we are creating the curriculum, we are creating the training content. So with the training method selected, we have already selected what kind of training method will be there. So HR professionals or the person who are involved in this training process need to create a detailed curriculum that outlines what the specific content that will be covered. And yes, the curriculum is essentially the roadmap of the training program and should be designed to meet the set objectives. It should not be you have written in broad points or headings that, okay, we will provide training on this, we will provide training on this. No, we are designing the proper curriculum. What kind of training we have to provide? Everything we have to include, all the modules. So, steps to develop a curriculum. Break down objectives. First of all, we have to break down the objectives as you can see these bricks. So divide the overall training objectives into smaller, manageable learning modules or sessions. I always say divide big tasks into small. It's that only. You must divide long-term goals to short-term goals. And yes, I have started few HR podcast session where I have discussed this about short-term goals and long-term goals. You can check on my other channel, Ready to Get Update. Okay, You can check those sessions, and if you want these podcasts to be in English, then yes, you can tell me on this channel also. Fine. So let's have an example for this. So if the objective is to improve proficiency in a software tool, the curriculum might include what? Modules such as basic navigation, advanced features, troubleshooting. So all the modules you have to describe properly, so that if you are stuck at some place in between this training program, then yes, we can access this and can get on track. So next is create learning materials. How we have to do? This is like we have to develop or acquire training materials such as what kind of presentations, manuals, e-learning modules, videos, case studies and practical exercises. Now my advice is please create all this material pre-hand before starting training. Okay, yes, minor changes you can do as per the scenario, as per the market, whatever you see that okay, if this training program is going on, this is for 6 months, some changes came after 3 months, then yes, you can implement the change, but please prepare these presentations, manuals, modules in pre-hand. Next is yes, okay, let's discuss this with an example. So example could be for this like for an e-learning course, materials could include what kind of instructional videos, okay, and there could be reading materials, quizzes these serve a great purpose, and interactive scenarios, okay. Next, incorporate practical exercises. This is important when you are mentoring, when you are coaching, when you are providing training to the employees. This is important by doing it by incorporating practical exercises. So, learning by doing is often the most effective way for employees to retain information, and practical exercises or real world scenarios should be incorporated. Okay, you must incorporate this. An example could be like in a project management training program. We have project management training program, so participants might complete a mock project that could be from initiation to closure. That will be effective. Next is design assessments and evaluations. So develop assessments, what like tests, quizzes, projects to measure employees' progress and understanding of the material. Okay, so yes, again, let's take an example of a software training program that might include a final assessment where employees must complete a specific task using the new software. You can provide the specific task and you can tell them to do it using the new software. Okay, so now why this is important? Now again, this question is there that why this is important, why we are designing the curriculum. So yes, you can understand that this is important. Why? Because a well organized curriculum ensures that all essential topics are covered and that the employees can gradually build their knowledge and skills, which is important. Okay, next, resource allocation and budgeting. Once the training plan is outlined, HR must determine the resources required to execute the program successfully. We have designed, we have outlined the training plan. We know that okay, this curriculum we have designed. Now, how to execute the program successfully? How to determine the resources required? What all resources we need to execute it properly? This is step. So resources to consider. What kind of resources we have to consider? First is trainers and facilitators. These are important, whether internal experts or external consultants will conduct the training. We have to decide between the two. I always advise, if you have introduced something which is new to the market, which normally nobody knows in your organization, always hire external consultants, okay, and that too who have the knowledge, who have a great forte in that. Because see, if you are thinking that okay, we have read from somewhere and from the news or from any article post, we know about this and we will provide the training and internal experts will do this won't serve purpose. So don't do this, don't take this risk. When you are proposing new training, then yes, you must invite experts from outside. Okay, now yes, there could be one example like a company may hire an external software trainer for specialized tools or rely on internal experts for broader topics. As I said, for special things, for specialized tools, you can invite from outside, and for broader topics, you can discuss with internal experts. Next is facilities and equipment. What kind of facilities will be there? What kind of facilities we need? Like what will be the location of the training, like classrooms, conference rooms, online platforms, and any special equipment or technology needed. Okay, like for example, for hands-on training, a company may need to provide specialized equipment such as obviously laptops, computers, you can say machinery. Next is budget. Now, this HR needs to allocate the budget for materials, trainers, venue, and any other cost associated with delivering the training. Don't think, okay, yes, we have to implement the training, so budget will get passed. No, this should be the primary thing, right? Means this is not you have to consider it later on. Okay, I'll tell you what is the budget. Then later on you start explaining, oh, we have to implement this training, so this much budget is okay or something. No, you have to make a proper budget, and you need to take approval first. So for a leadership development program, like for example, for a leadership development program, the budget might include cost for hiring external leadership coaches and hosting workshops and providing training materials. This is important. Now, why it's important? Proper planning ensures that the training program can be executed smoothly without unexpected costs or delays. Understood? So, why this is important? Planning is important because we need to execute it smoothly. Next is scheduling timelines. This is important. Now, HR needs to schedule the training sessions to ensure minimal disruption to daily operations. Means daily operations need to be carried out as it is, and this training session needs to be carried out simultaneously. So we have to ensure that this is balanced. So this may involve coordinating with whom? With managers and department heads to determine the best times for training, as well as setting clear timelines for completion. As people always say, oh, HR want to have a fun Friday, when people don't want to enjoy, when people have so much burden on their mind, on their brain, that they are not ready to have fun Friday, then the HR conducts fun Friday. So it should not be that training is a burden for the people. It should be a thing which is progressive. Okay, and this will definitely help in future. Even if they leave the organization, it will help them, means employees. Okay, so we must do it in a balanced way. We need to set clear timelines for completion, not only for training, but yes, when it will be completed, there should be dedicated time for it. So, okay, let's discuss with an example. So, in a retail organization, HR might schedule sales training sessions during non-peak hours, okay, to ensure employees are available without affecting customer service. So, yes, this could be the best thing. Next, why it's important, why scheduling and timelines are important. We all know that a well-planned schedule ensures that training happens without negatively impacting the workflow or productivity of the organization. Okay, next is, and this is the last one, engagement and communication plan. Now I feel that yes, you have watched this session completely. Please, if you have seen this session completely, and if you are watching this session, please do tell me, because I feel really good that you all are up to last. I always ask in every session, but nobody tells me that they have watched this entire session. Okay, so please do tell me. Next is engagement and communication plan. It's important to communicate the training plan effectively. To whom? To all stakeholders, including employees, managers, and trainers. Proper information is important. Now, this involves explaining what? You will explain the purpose of the training, and actually how it aligns with organizational goals, and how employees will benefit, and how the organization will benefit. Okay, you need to understand the purpose first yourself, and then how to tell them, how to convince them, how to express this, that yes, this training is important. So yes, example could be like HR sends an email to employees explaining the upcoming customer service training, and what are its objectives, its schedule, and what employees needs to prepare for the sessions. Okay, this should also be intimated prior to the employees, so that they can prepare actually. Next, why it's important? We all know that clear communication ensures that everyone understands the importance of the training and is motivated to participate. They are aware of the training and they are motivated to participate. This is really important. I feel that design and planning is a crucial part, because here we are doing lot of things. Please don't ignore this session. Let's summarize. The design and planning stage of training and development involves what? We have set clear objectives, choosing appropriate methods, we have developed a curriculum, allocated resources, scheduled sessions, and engaged stakeholders. So it ensures that training is effective, aligns with organization goals, and addresses the specific needs identified during the assessment phase. A well designed training program is key to improving employee performance and achieving business success. So I feel this design and planning is really important. Next session will be of delivery. Now, what is delivery? You can understand that training and development programs are delivered through various methods, including classroom instruction, online courses, workshops, seminars, coaching, and mentoring. Okay, so we will be discussing about this now. You might be thinking we have discussed about this here. Here we have discussed briefly. Now, in detail, how to deliver this training so that you can also implement that in your organization, or you can become the part. You can suggest to your organization how to deliver this. What is actual process? Fine. So I hope so you will be in the next session. This is an important session. You people always ask me, ma'am, how to plan training, how to do it. So this can be the way. Fine. So yes, till next video, all the very best. Stay happy, stay safe, and if it's helpful, please do let me know. Take care. Bye bye.